Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Run Your Day podcast. As always, Dan Hafner joining you here today. The topic for this one, Chapter 2, Down the Rabbit Hole We Go. As always, appreciate you guys coming on here and joining every single day. So, um, just to catch you up, if you haven't kind of heard or seen what's been going on with the podcast here lately, I've been kind of going back through the past 18 months of my life, kind of chronicling things in a more in-depth way, which is also, I think, really beneficial for you in that it's really going to show, really kind of draw out more and more lessons and actionable things that you can learn from to help accelerate results in your life. So this is only chapter 2 of it. You can go back and listen to chapter 1. It's not like you have to go back and binge a whole lot. If you're catching this now, it's from the beginning, which is great. So just a short recap of the last one. Just talked about where this all started from, a moment when I really just had this awareness come to me that I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, wasn't where I wanted to be, just was not in a very good place at all. And it wasn't like anything drastic had happened. It was just kind of like a awareness moment of like, wow, I really need to change some stuff, right? So what's kind of funny is when you get into that place, you kind of start to see things differently, you hear things differently, you interpret things differently, and then there's triggering moments that come along, right? There's things that happen, and you'll notice this, um, that just kind of force you to just ultimately see something different, or it's like a paradigm shift, right? And of all things that started me down this rabbit hole of entrepreneurship, of self improvement, personal power, like whatever you want to call it, and even got this podcast itself started. Of all things that were triggering events, um, it was a tweet. Yeah, just a one single tweet. Looking back on it, it was just literally a single tweet, and it was by a man. But then I keep messing that up. A man by the name of Sean Jantz was who the tweet was from. And Sean, if you're not familiar with him, he does like a trading education platform. It's really successful. It's really awesome. You can check it out. I'm not promoting or endorsing him or in any way. I'm just saying like the facts of what happened. But I was part of his community, just learning how to like trade, learning different things about the markets and stuff. And it was kind of funny because it was almost a form of self validation for me because I think I joined his programs back in like 2014. I've been kind of in and out of his community over the years. But I later found out that I was actually his very first customer, which was kind of cool and was always been something that I've kind of held on to as like a form of validation for me. In that it just kind of was something that I was like, wow, you know what? I was really thinking differently even that long ago. Um, as far as stocks, real estate, passive income, additional ways of making income, just changing the way that I operated. So I always kind of held on to that as like, you know what? Like, yeah, I have been kind of, framing my mind that way for a very long time. So that was kind of neat. It was always just something that was really, really cool. So basically I opened up my phone one day. This is after I had, got into this place of awareness of like, man, like I really need to, I really just want to change. I want some different things in my life. I just want like, this is just, whatever this is isn't working for me. Right. So open up my phone and I see this tweet from him. And he was basically like mentioning like 3 books. I think it was like Building a Story Brand, Launch by Jeff Walker, who's also awesome to follow online. And then the third book was Expert Secrets. So whether you've heard of this book or not, Expert Secrets is an awesome, awesome book written by Russell Brunson, who, if you haven't heard of ClickFunnels, you're probably just not part of the digital marketing world. They're like one of the biggest, most explosive growing companies over the past 3 years. They've made like $100 million or something crazy. And they're absolutely bonkers. But basically, I got introduced to that entire world through this book of Expert Secrets. And as I started to read it, I really started to resonate with a lot of the things. I didn't remember at this point, I didn't have any business. I didn't have any entrepreneurship ideas. I didn't have any, like I just wasn't that far down the path. But like, as I read this book, a lot of things started to resonate with me. I was like, yes, like I've known this, but somebody actually put it into words. Right. And it changed my paradigm forever because I just started to realize like, you know what? Like there is a different path for things. There are different ways to achieve the same goal, right? Of making it and being successful and impactful and all this different stuff. So that was just some kind of, validation there. So I got introduced to this world of ClickFunnels. And then the other platform that came out of that, which has been the single biggest impact on my life to date, was through that book of Expert Secrets. I got introduced to a program known as Wake Up Warrior, run by a man by the name of Garrett J. White. And this program has been the single biggest impactful thing that has ever happened to me and that I've ever been blessed enough to be a part of. I technically wasn't even supposed to be in that program. Um, it's funny how when you dive down the rabbit hole in life, how things just work out. Whether it's God, whether it's the universe, whether it's whatever you believe in. Um, but there's just doorways that open at certain points in your life, whether through a person, through a program, through something. And it leads you down this path you didn't even know you were meant to go down. Right. And I'll go more into the Wake Up Warrior program and how it impacted my life in the future. But, it was just amazing how at that time they were running a certain program that I was able to get a part of, and then they opened the door to a different thing and then a different thing. And then I just got more and more and more involved and changed more and more and more and more. And, ultimately led to this podcast, building my app, just, trying to go into sales and learn business. And just, it all started from this tweet, right? It all started from just seeing this one tweet that led me into a different doorway, which led me into a different doorway, which led me into some offshoot hallway alley, whatever it was. And it's just incredible to sit back and think about that rabbit hole. Just what really happens when you chase something down a rabbit hole, because there's so many of these that pop up throughout our lives. There's so many that pop up throughout a single day. You can go down all kinds of different conversation rabbit holes. This happens all day at work, right? You go and somebody starts talking about something. Next thing you know, you're talking about the football game this weekend, and you're talking about the kids running around, and then you're talking about politics and whatever, you know what I mean? And then next thing you know, you're like, oh wow, we just wasted a half an hour. We should probably get back to work, right? And it's funny how this plays out on a bigger scale in our lives. When you decide to do something, right? The decision you made to have the job that you have, or the decision you made to go to the school that you went to, or the decision you made to date the person that you're now with. These are all rabbit holes that we've dove down and we've committed to, right? Which is good. Eventually you need to commit to something. At least one thing. You need to dive down a rabbit hole and become fully, fully 100% committed to just finding the bottom of that son of a bitch, right? Whether it's a relationship or a job or a business or whatever it is. And you can go down wrong ones. You can. We go down wrong ones all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you find out what you're meant to do. That's how you find out different things. That's how you learn. That's how you fail. That's how you screw shit up. And that's how you ultimately get better. Right? I never would have been able to start this podcast if I didn't get introduced to that world, if I didn't follow what my gut was telling me to do, if I didn't follow what my brain was saying, hey, this is right, this is true, this is something that you're called to. Even though it didn't quite make sense to me or others around me at the time, it felt right. It just felt what I needed to do in that moment. You know what I mean? So, it's crazy when you sit back and think okay, for how this applies to you, the listener here, is how do you go back in your life and think about the different rabbit holes that you're currently down. Like, what decisions have you made that have produced the results inside of the rabbit hole that you're currently living within, right? And the real thing about this is that you might not like what you find. Like, you might not be comfortable with, like, yeah, I made this choice about this person and now they're either in my life and they're not desirable, or they're not in my life and I desire them to be. Or, man, I made this choice about this job and this career path and I really don't like it anymore. Like, I really don't want to do this for a single, like, another day. And just beat your head against the wall, and it's what's ultimately, like, what ultimately comes of this is realizing, like, nobody made that choice for you. Like, your dad didn't make that choice for you, your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, your pets, your spouse, your kids, like, whatever. Nobody made that choice for you. You might have a reason around, well, I'm in this field because, we've been a military family for 3 generations, or, my dad ran this business and he handed it down to me, or, we grew up together and went to high school together, and we just were destined to get married. Those are all stories. They're not facts. They're stories. They're not facts. And when you finally sit back and realize, like, you might have a reason around why you do something that you have always blamed on someone else. And ultimately, it's your decision, right? Because I went through this. I went down this, and once I got, like, way far down this rabbit hole, I started to be like, well, this isn't working out for me because, I never had someone to guide me and show me the way in business, or I just never had the advantages that other people have, and I blamed it on other people. Like, my lack of results, I blamed on other people. And then I finally just got to the point where I was like, no, like, it's me. The variable's me. And I made the choice. I made the choice to go down here. I made the choice to open this door. I made the choice to do this thing, whatever it might be. And therefore, the responsibility is ultimately on me, right? So my closing thought for you today through this chapter is go back in your life a few years, maybe even longer, and think about, like, if this is taking a 30,000-foot view of your life, right? Like, taking a look at, like, well, I live in this city because of this choice, or I have this career because of this choice. But, how did I get down this rabbit hole? Like, what ultimately led me to here? And I'll warn you, be careful, because you might not like the ultimate resolution of this. You might just be like, well, I was kind of pushed into this, or I just didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I just defaulted into this. And then you'll be left in a place of, like, oh shit, like, what do I do? Like, I don't like this anymore, right? And if you find yourself there, just keep listening. I promise. Like, the next few episodes are going to be really, really beneficial for you. Now, if you do like where you're at, then great. Like, how can you start doubling down? Like, what's the next level of this rabbit hole that you can dive down and be like, you know what? I'm going to start freaking mastering this shit, or I'm going to just go deeper and just become this expert, this authority, this thing that I'm now known for, right? And there's a whole nother rabbit hole to itself. So that is my lesson and my takeaway for you guys today. Like, the rabbit hole is your choice, no matter what it is. No matter what it is. And there's always going to be millions of different ways you can go, but it's your choice that ultimately determines where you go. So that brings chapter 2 to a conclusion. If you think and you go back and you say, even if you can identify the moment that you chose that rabbit hole, that's even way more beneficial, because then you realize it's more of a psychological thing at that point, and it's a pretty powerful experience. It's a pretty powerful experience. So that's going to wrap up the show. Really appreciate you guys coming on here. I hope you're enjoying the new revamped way that I'm doing this. This has really been beneficial for me too in the past couple episodes. Like I said, I really want to benefit you guys the most from this, but this is also really, it's kind of healing for me as well. It's kind of, it's going to get spicy. It's going to get spicy. We're not even into the good stuff yet. So, all right, my friends, that's all. I appreciate you coming on, listening. Be sure to check back tomorrow for the next episode, chapter 3. It's going to be a good one, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Run Your Day podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, feel free to share today's show with friends and family. Until next time, have a great day.